I'm not white enough to be considered white, and therefore I don't fit in anywhere, and I don't think I ever. On January 18, 1968, Eartha Kitt walked into the White House for lunch with Lady Bird Johnson. It was supposed to be polite discussion about youth crime. Instead said something so shocking that the First Lady burst into tears. Within a week, President Johnson ordered the CIA to destroy her career. They created a 60-page secret file filled with lies and personal attacks. The was blacklisted from America for 10 years. What did she say that made the government so angry? The recording was hidden for decades. Now we finally know. The Kitt was born on January 17, 1927, in a small rural part of South Carolina, on a cotton plantation. Her mother was part Cherokee and African-American, but no one ever told who her father was. People only knew that he was a white man, and that mystery followed her for most of her life. They named her because the crops had been good that year. But her life was anything but easy. Because of her light skin, she didn't fit in. She wasn't black enough for the black children, and the white children didn't accept her either. People called her names like Yellow Gal. She felt like she didn't belong anywhere, and that confusion about who she was stayed with her forever. When she was just 3 years old, her mother remarried and didn't want to keep her. One night heard her mother crying and begging her new husband to let stay. But the man refused. He said, "I don't want that yellow gal in my house." The next morning they drove to stay with relatives. Her mother left her there and never came back. That moment broke something inside her. She later said, "My mother gave me away because I was not the right color." Life with those relatives was like living in a nightmare. By age 9 was being beaten for tiny things like eating fruit off a tree because she was hungry. She was forced to pick cotton barefoot in the fields alongside grown-ups. To the people she lived with, she wasn't family, just an extra mouth they didn't want. They told her things like, "Nobody wants you. You're a motherless bastard." It was during this time that she was also molested by children in the household. The pain nearly broke her. Things got so bad that the local church warned her aunt in Harlem that might not survive. They said she'd be worked to death, beaten to death, or starved if someone didn't take her out. At age 8, was sent to Harlem to live with someone she was told was her Aunt Mary Kitt, but years later found out this woman was actually her birth mother, the same woman who had abandoned her. Even in New York, life was still full of pain. She was so hungry that she had to search the ground for weeds and bulbs to eat. She said it felt like they had nothing for what seemed like forever. She would search alleys for food, anything to survive. The fear of hunger never left her. That's why later in life, she would say, "Give me dirt. Don't buy me diamonds or furs. Give me land, because they're not making any more of it." Even as she tried to go to school, she was always worried about where her next meal would come from. But she kept going. In 1998, when she was 71 years old, finally got her birth certificate. She had waited her whole life to see it. The father's name was listed as unknown, but her daughter later said it had actually been covered up to protect a powerful white man's reputation. The cried when she saw the paper. She believed she had been conceived through rape. Some said the man was a white doctor. Others believed he was the son of the plantation owner. The truth had been buried to protect him, and it hurt deeply to know that even her birth had been treated like a secret. In 1943, when she was just 16, her life began to change. She was standing on a street in Harlem when a woman asked for directions to a makeup store. That woman turned out to be connected to the famous Catherine Dunham dance company. The decided to try out, even though she had never studied dance before. She passed the audition and won a scholarship. She became the youngest member of the Company, touring with them from 1943 to 1948. She learned African and Caribbean dances. For the first time she was being paid for performing, not just surviving, but even in the dance. Company, the cruelty didn't stop. Other dancers called her names like Yellow Gal and didn't want to include her. They thought she wasn't black enough to be part of the group. She was left out of parties and conversations. The pain of being rejected by people who looked like her was just as sharp as what she had felt in South Carolina. Made her tough. It made her believe she had to rely on no one but herself. Before her dancing career took off, she worked in a Brooklyn sewing factory. During World War II, she was only 15 and was making military uniforms. The conditions were terrible, hot, crowded, dangerous. She spoke up, organizing a small protest to demand better treatment. They fired her immediately. That moment showed her how power worked. And it also showed that she would always speak up no matter the cost. During her teenage years, she suffered more pain that she rarely talked about. She was sexually assaulted by a family friend in Harlem. It wasn't the first time. She had also been molested by her cousins years earlier. These attacks changed how she saw men forever. On stage, she became known as a seductive performer, but she was always in control. She used her image to protect herself. No man would ever own her again. By the time she was 18 in 1945, was performing in Harlem nightclubs like the famous Cotton Club. She taught herself how to speak French, Spanish, and German. Later, she would sing in 11 different languages. Her shows became a place where she could express herself fully. The audiences loved her, and it gave her a glimpse of a future that didn't include hunger or abuse. In 1946, at 19, Eartha toured Europe with the Dunham Company, performing in places like the Théâtre de Chanteloup in Paris. The crowd adored her. She began to feel something she hadn't felt before, accepted. She picked up French quickly and developed a style that was unlike anyone else. Her beauty, her voice, and her movements captured the hearts of the audience. The tour lasted until 1948 and made her a